needs of this community, Lord. Bless this food to our bodies and our lives through your service. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Flag salute. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
Play ball.
Our Sergeant of Arms today is Jack Weiner.
Wow. Hey, listen, I'm Sergeant at Arms today. I arranged today's speaker. I'm going to be introducing the speaker. So there's going to be a lot of stuff, Jack Weimer, going on today. I told Serena if she would just strap a broom to my leg, I'd sweep the floor at the same time. That's funny. This is where you laugh. Okay. I'm going to find a bunch of people today because, you know, the kind of reception you've given me. So, of course, we're going to start with Don Pappy. Don, that's $5. I heard you that one time. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to find Serena Nelson, the president, for being a proud, very proud, graduate of NEO without having told me previously. Well, that's $5 fine. All right, so passing out $5 fines. Does anyone else want to give me any lip right now? Okay. No? Okay. What did Jim say? Oh. Okay, well, we'll let him go. Today in history, by the way, the whole purpose of this is to raise money for our scholarship kids. You know, we give away, where are we up to now? $40,000 a year in scholarships that we're giving away. And that doesn't happen by accident. We do it on purpose, and of course, we have to raise the money. So put some money in the blue bowl. If you don't know the answer to this question, what was the most important thing that happened on October 22nd, 1962?
Submarine.
Go ahead. You graduated from high school? Okay.
Is that the submarine? Isn't that the Cuban Missile?
Is that the famous October graduation that they had that year?
Cuban Missile Crisis.
Cuban Missile Crisis is correct. Today is actually the day that President Kennedy announced to the nation what had really happened. Okay? But Joe, you don't have to pay a fine today.
Can I take it out then?
No, you may not take it out. But that's a $5 fine for even thinking about it. All right, there was one other thing today. Today we're going to have a presentation from a distinguished member of our state law enforcement. But today is actually the day that the FBI got whom? Anybody? Anybody? This would be 1934.
Dillinger.
Pretty Boy Floyd. So October 22nd is the day that Pretty Boy Floyd was captured by the FBI. So you can think about that. And every time you think of Pretty Boy, you can remember that Jack Weimer told you that. All right, get out your dollars, put money in the blue things. Serena, thank you very much.
And again, welcome our students of the month, Jacob and Hannah. Glad to have you here with us and we're picking up the blue records. Our caterer, Monty, with Mazio's. Wonderful job. Thank you, Monty. Our Rotarian of the day is Joel Leach. Clap for Joel.
I will be brief. I want to thank everybody that has been... Jack, can they put some more money in there? Thank you all for your friendship and your kindness that you've shown me. As you do in here, I'm sure that's what you do out there in our community. And I'm very proud to be part of this. Thank you.
Our guest today with Mark Polson is his lovely wife, Amy Polson. Amy, great to have you with us today. With David Zigian, Lynn Hasselman. Lynn, it's great to have you with us here today. With Jack Weimer is Bill Ingram and our speaker, Steve Blevins. And also with Jack Weimer, and I've already got fined $5 for this, our president from NEO, Kyle Stafford. It's great to have you. And now for our Blue Badge presentation. Diane, if you will bring Jeff and Sandy up. Okay, we have 2 Red Badge members who completed everything and ready to move on to being a Blue Badge. There are 2 outstanding members. We do have a good group that just came in that attended orientation that completed it last week, so we'll have some more Blue Badgers coming up soon. But the first one will be Sandy Love, and she works for the Grove Sun, well, area newspapers, not just Grove Sun, but she joined the reading program committee, and she also helped with the book fair at the elementary school recently also. So let's congratulate Sandy Love with her Blue Badge. And then we have Jeff McSweeney, also known as the mayor of Harbor Village. But he is serving on the flag committee, and he's also helped with the fishing tournament launching at what time in the morning?
Well, that was the late one, 6.
That
was the late
one, 6 in the morning, so not the 4:30 one. So let's congratulate Jeff McSweeney on becoming a Blue Badge. Welcome, welcome. Now for your Rotary announcements, if you will make your way to the stand, please. Mr. Dodson, excuse me, Pat Dodson, Kaylin, I'll put $5 in the coffin for that. I got you. You don't even have to tell me. Pat brought some thank you cards from the librarians for us. It says, thank you so much for your generous donation. I truly can't make it without you. I wish you all could have seen the smiles you put on the kids' faces. It was so much fun giving them money to shop. You are a blessing. Carol Hunsberger. Grove Rotarians, I wanted to extend a heartfelt thanks for your generous donation to our book fair. Your support helped make it possible for many students to purchase books and experience the joy of choosing stories of their very own. Because of your kindness, more children are developing a love of reading and discovering the excitement that comes with having books at home. Your continued investment in our students make a lasting difference in their education and in our community. Thank you again for your generosity and commitment to fostering literacy and learning among our students. In appreciation, Miranda Ward. So that's just some of the stuff that we do.
What else we do is give grants away every year. It's the grants this year's grant process starts November 1st. But in order to be qualified for a grant, if you had a grant or sponsored a grant last year, they have to submit a closeout report, how you spent the money, some pictures, some receipts, things like that. Just an acknowledgement that yes, you took our money and you spent it like you said you would. So if you sponsored somebody, please ask them if they have submitted their report yet. Otherwise, they're not eligible for a future grant. Thank you.
First of all, just want to mention to everybody that Pete Norwood had a pretty simplistic heart procedure yesterday at Freeman Hospital, and it was a one-day procedure, but keep him in your prayers, please. And to remind you, Chief Morris mentioned it last week, we're on the Shop with a Cop mission again this year. Last year we served 409 children that was able to spend $150 each in shopping for their siblings and other parents, and then take some for themselves. So we may have sold out already because our Little Grove Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association members are out there with you selling chances to win an old Henry Golden Boy 22 long rifle.
You can see me for them today.
Mike and Susan Bass still have tickets. One for $5, 5 for $20. Support Shop with a Cop.
Well, I have some good news. For those of you who told me you couldn't participate in Work Day this Saturday,
It's been postponed. And I know who you are. No, it is on Saturday, November 1. It's 1 week later. The reason for the postponement, 80% chance of rain on this Saturday. And as I've said to many, we can do hot weather and cold weather, but not wet weather. It's just not safe. So, see you on November 1st.
Oh boy, more good news. It is dictionary distribution time again in the city and community. I'm looking for volunteers. I have a committee of 20. I'm expecting you guys to be there as well as anybody else who would like to. We're the big days, which are Grove and J, where I need a lot of volunteers, will be Wednesday, November the 5th, and Thursday, November the 6th. But I've also got the round the world trip with that's Colcord, Mosley, Kansas, and Leach on Tuesday the 4th. If those don't fit your, I do have a Monday the 3rd, or even Thursday the 30th of October. I will be at the back. They have to sign up. Not to sound threatening, but if you don't call me, I'll call you. This is the really fun part. You ought to get in on it.
Okay, just for everybody's reminder, these are back at the trash cans. Please pour all your liquids into these because we're spilling liquids at the back of the church here. And I'd like to just remind everybody, pour your liquids into these buckets. They'll be by the trash cans. Thank you.
This is your RILA report. RILA Youth Camp, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards Camp, just finished up on Sunday. Trish and I have been sleeping for 3 days solid after that. We were worn out, but it was one of the most rewarding experiences, I think, for the both of us. Wanted to give a big shout out to all you Rotarians who sponsored. We had 5 kids from Grove that went this year, and it was a life-changing, it was just life-changing for these kids. And they're high school juniors. This was Trish's first year to go as a chaperone, so I just wanted her to give you just a little bit of a synopsis of what she experienced.
Okay, going as a chaperone, I didn't really know what to do, so I just followed Judy's lead because she'd been there the year before. And what we did was we just started cheering the kids on. They'd be on the high ropes and we'd be standing around cheering. And at first they'd look at us like, "Is that my Nana over there cheering me on?" You know, like, where did this lady come from? And then all of a sudden they got used to us, they liked us, and they looked for us in the crowd. And so we kind of fit in after a while. And then one of the speakers was saying, "Kids, this isn't your home, this isn't school, this is a safe place, and we all want you to succeed." And they did.
So next year, we'll be looking for some chaperones that are younger than us, that can sleep, go to bed at 11:30 and get up at 6:30 for 4 days in a row. So start resting up now because Trish and I are coming after you all next year. And again, it is one of the best experiences. There were 150 high school juniors from the 4-state area that attended. There were probably, 30 Rotarians that came from the area, and then there were also probably 25 or 30 what they call E-Club. There were younger Rotarians that came and helped, and college and high school seniors. So it is an awesome experience, and thank you again for sending our students.
Thank you for serving. And another high note, who won the Rotary Bowl? And it's on us where it belongs. Pat Dodson, where's our trophy?
I handed the ladies last time I saw it was with you guys.
I left it with the football team. So I guess we'll have to ask Coach Keno. Fair enough. Friday night's game is against our rival, Wagner. At 7 o'clock it is there. It will be on live stream as well as the radio. So, anyway. And now without any further ado, Jack Weimer, if you will introduce our speaker, please.
Well, thanks. I'm not familiar with that sound. Our speaker today is Steve Blevins, who's the agent in charge with the, let's see, let me make sure I get this right, the Organized Crime Task Force of the Oklahoma Attorney General. You get that right? Okay. Steve is a native of Miami, Oklahoma. He's a graduate of NEO, and Kyle's here to be a blessing to him today. And if Steve Blevins does not sound like a famous name or a well-known name to you, it's because in Steve's business he likes to keep a low profile. You probably never met him, unless you were arrested for a drug offense in Oklahoma City in the 90s. No? Or if you were maybe caught smuggling fentanyl from Mexico into the United States via the El Paso corridor where he was assigned. No? Okay. Maybe you met him while you were trying to run some cocaine through the airport in Las Vegas. DEA, back when he was with them, was real big on the airport in Las Vegas. It's even more unlikely, but you may have met Steve while you were on horseback with a load of heroin being transported by the Taliban over to your safe house in Pakistan. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you, Steve is a gentleman. I've known him for some time, but if he comes to your house, he does not knock. So basically, if you've ever met Steve professionally, then Mark Morris wants to spend a few minutes with you after the meeting in the squad car. A much better way to get to know Steve is by being a member of the Grove Rotary Club today. So it's my pleasure to introduce to one of the good guys, the unsung heroes of our state and nation, Mr. Steve Blevins.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for everybody for having me here today. Again, I'm not sure how to follow that. I'm not sure how to follow that introduction, but I'll try. Again, like Jack said, I'm a native of Miami, Oklahoma, born and bred, grew up there. I graduated from NEO, but beyond that, I grew up at NEO. I had a number of family members that were at NEO for their entire careers. My mom worked out there, my grandmother, my great aunt, so I grew up on that campus. I'm not just a Norseman by 2 years of college. From there, I went down to Oklahoma City and joined the Central State University Police Department while I was going to college. I'm going to have to learn this mic. And worked there, at which time I went to the Oklahoma City Police Department and worked patrolling narcotics and street crimes, and then eventually transitioned over to DEA. Went to DEA in the mid-90s, and as Jack said, I served in El Paso, Las Vegas, most of the lower 48 states at one point or another, Afghanistan, and a few other crazy places. While I was at DEA, I ran the marijuana eradication program in the state of Oklahoma. I'll come important in a minute. So I ran that, and in 2017, I decided I was done and was going to hang it up. I got a good job as a contractor overseas. So I decided to go overseas, and I spent 5 years in the Middle East as a contractor for DEA. I told everybody I retired from DEA on Friday. They contracted me back for more money on Monday. It wasn't bad. I was over there for a number of years and came back here in late 2022. I thought I was going to retire, and I went down as part of my duties with DEA. I was a tactical medical instructor. I went down to a friend of mine, was running the AG's office at the time. They're in law enforcement, and wanted me to come in and do a tactical medical class. I did that, and after 3 days of him discussing, we'd worked together at Oklahoma City Police Department. After 3 days of discussing where I'd been and what I had done, he told me, "That sounds great, come back on Monday, I've got a badge for you, we're starting a new unit, you're going to run it." I went home and told my wife, I said, "I don't know what happened. I don't think it was announced. I know I didn't put it in the application, but apparently I got a badge." I had come, when I left Oklahoma City in 2017, marijuana had not become medical use in the state yet. We had all but eradicated it out of the state at that point. When I came back in 2022, it was everywhere. And I think my wife got tired of hearing about it, so she said, great, you got a badge, go back and do something about it, and quit rapping to me about it. So that started what is now about a 2.5 year journey at the Attorney General's office. What I'd like to talk to you a little bit about today is the marijuana industry in Oklahoma, how we got here, and what we're doing to try to clean it up a little bit. Okay? If anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me. I'm going to try and get through this. Jack's going to have to keep me on time. I can get carried away on these, so I put some slides up here. I'm not going to read them all. They're more to keep me on track, keep me from wandering off into the weeds and talking to you guys for the next 4 hours. Okay, just a few things that come along with the marijuana industry. This was actually right after I started. That was a fire at a processor in Oklahoma City. Myself and my partner, when I started for the Attorney General's office, they literally said they wanted to start an organized crime unit to combat illegal organized crime in the state of Oklahoma, aka marijuana. My partner and I had worked together at DEA in the past. At this time, this was probably March of 23. The organized crime unit was myself, my partner, and a bar Dodge Charger. That was it. That's all we had. We ended up there, and at about midnight, after the fires were out and everything was done, we were loading waterlogged marijuana into the back of a dump trailer to take it out for destruction, and looked around and went, why are all the guys out here retired guys? We had all come back on the job for this very reason. Anybody who thinks you're getting medical marijuana for medicine, that's where your medicine's grown. That's a runoff, that's what they do to these properties. We'll talk more about that as I get into it, but that is quite common at these places, and that's actually not that bad. As Jack said, and I said, I was with DEA for a number of years. Spent a lot of time on the southwest border. I've done undercover deals with 1,000 kilos of coke, but I've never seen marijuana loaded in dump trailers with heavy moving equipment. Okay, how did we get here? In 2018, the people put it to a vote on a state question. What happens when it goes to a state question is the industry wrote the law. They looked at California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, the places that had legalized, what they had done, and how they were closing the loopholes. They came to Oklahoma backed by a bunch of dark money and wrote a law that you couldn't have cobbled together on a dare. They opened up every loophole they could, and nobody expected it to pass. This is Oklahoma, right? I mean, Merle Haggard said it. We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee. We do now. And a lot of it. But they passed this thing, and because it was a state law, or a state question, state officers could not come out against it. They treat, in Oklahoma, we treat that just like a candidate. So there was a restriction on that. They were outspent, I think it was 20-1 on getting this legalized, and it passed. Regulation went in, as part of the law, said the regulation had to be done and license given out in 90 days. Well, it passed. It took us longer to figure out how to sell wine at Walmart, about 18 months, than it did start handing out licenses for marijuana. And it was a perfect storm was created. This is a later map. This is 2024. Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority had provided that to me. Every one of those red dots is a grow in Oklahoma that has some sort of licensure. Stop short of saying they're legal, because most of them don't have all of their ducks in a row, but that is what we were looking at. Okay, why Oklahoma? It was a perfect storm. Land was cheap. Cost of living was cheap. For the most part, get out in rural Oklahoma, the land's here, and people want to be left alone, and they want to stay out of people's business. That's why I love being from Oklahoma. But it played into their favor. They started coming in with bags of money, largely in this part of the state. I've known I've met two or three native Okies who started businesses. Most of them are out of the business now. They couldn't afford it. They couldn't compete. because these Chinese organized crime, Eastern European organized crime, all came in and started buying up property with bags of cash. Okay, so the problem was Oklahoma, like I said, voted overwhelmingly to pass that law. So we got that, we threw the licenses into effect, and we started out handing out licenses like they were going out of style. There was very little regulation, very little to identify who even had the license. Most of these things were run by straw owners. There was a law in there that you had to be a citizen of Oklahoma, a resident of Oklahoma. So what they did is they went out with bags of cash and found unsuspecting Oklahomans. Many of them poor or elderly, and some of them, a lot of them, did not necessarily have their full faculties, but they said, we'll pay you thousands of dollars a month to be the 75% owner of this marijuana operation. You don't have to do it. You own it, we'll run it, and we'll pay you a monthly fee. And that's how that happened. So, you get to Oklahoma. Now we're the wild, wild west of weed. That's who we are. And we're no nation like that. I just had to attend a meeting 2 weeks ago with DEA headquarters, their Special Operations Division, who runs all the wiretapping across the world, because they came down to see what in the world is going on in Oklahoma. Because of all the money, we are a multi-billion-dollar dark market for marijuana. They saturated the state. Black market marijuana is everywhere. Oklahoma has been called now in several news articles, Toklahoma. That's who we are. That's what they know Oklahoma as. They advertise internationally to bring people to Oklahoma to work these marijuana grows. 2021, at the height of this, OMMA and OBN had about 10,000 licensed grows that had some form of legitimate paperwork. Most of them didn't have a complete package, but they had enough to get going. And the law is so convoluted, it took most law enforcement a year or two to even figure out how to enforce it because there's so many loopholes. Of that 10,000, the problem with that is that put us with more grows in the state of Oklahoma than the rest of the entire U.S. combined. You combine every grow in the state of Oklahoma, in the United States, we outsource them. We have, still to this day, double the number of dispensaries as California. There's a little over 4 million people in the state of Oklahoma. Right now, there's about 350,000 cardholders, more or less. It changes. And of that, we have double the amount of the entire state of California. They're not doing legal business. It's all black market and it's all money laundering. There was a study done by OBN. They did the math. And a couple of our bigger grows would have supplied every legal cardholder in the state for an entire year. So I'll be generous, say 5%. That means 95% of the weed grown in Oklahoma is black market from the get-go. It's designed that way. There's massive amounts of fraud, and it has tempted a lot of people, even a lot of Oklahoma people. I know our office is currently prosecuting a couple of attorneys. One of them had been State National Guard colonel with the intelligence unit. He was an attorney and a state-appointed official. He single-handedly set up hundreds, if not thousands, of illegal Chinese grows. He did all the paperwork, doctored all the paperwork and all the registrations out, the land ownership, got the straw owners set up, and they're out there. Now we're trying to go back through, and to this day, he's been in the legal system. He's now federal government's getting ready to indict him. As long as I've been there, he's been fighting that, and several times a year I'll come into a grow and it's one of his. We're still trying to shut them all down. They were all started illegally, so they're all illegal. Okay, so how did organized crime get here? Marijuana was legalized, like I said, 2018. 2021, Governor Drummond ran for and won Attorney General. It was before I came back. Or I guess in 22, he was elected and sworn in January. February 23 is when I got hired, late February. 23, Drummond put out the word he was going to form an organized crime task force. Based on all the complaints he had when he was running for Attorney General throughout the nation, or throughout the state rather, sorry. For years I was a federal badge, so I sometimes still think in national terms, but throughout the state he was going around campaigning, talking to people. He's a rancher, as you all may not know, but so agricultural issues were big to him, and this was one of the big issues that he saw and everybody was complaining about. The crime, the destruction of the property, the selling of the property, the national security interest that goes along with it. Many of these Chinese-owned and foreign-owned groves are close to or in flight paths of all of our military institutions. Okay, so organized crime task force is formed. It was the first of its kind in the nation, or in Oklahoma history, I'm sorry. And we were designed specifically to fight transnational organized crime. Like I said earlier, that's Chinese, that's Eastern European organized crime. We operate across the state. And we also don't just do the marijuana grows and the illegal trafficking. We do all related crimes that go along with that. The statutory authority of the Attorney General's office and Oklahoma organized crime statutes are fairly broad, so we have a pretty good mission into, yes, the illegal grows, the money laundering, the black market, the labor trafficking, sex trafficking, underground casinos, money laundering, homicides. We've had homicides we've investigated, armed robberies. We last year went on a string of catching home invasion robberies at these groves. We got started in that, and I never thought we were going to quit working home invasions and armed robberies. Once the word was out, we were assisting these smaller departments, sheriff's department, police departments would call us because there were organized gangs coming up out of Texas, linking up with Oklahoma gang members. They were actually pretty sophisticated. They're putting trackers on these cars. They'd go somewhere, find the cars, they'd put a tracker on it, an air tag, follow it around, see what they're doing. They were putting up game cameras, just like we put up cameras to track the bad guys. They were using trackers and cameras, and they would figure out where the grow was, and then they would go down, round everybody up, and rough them up, rob them, and of the money and the product, take it down to Texas and sell it, and live like rock stars till it ran out. 2 weeks later, they'd be northbound on 35 again. There were a number of police pursuits involved in that, shootouts with police, several violent assaults, and at least a couple of homicides. Okay. I told you I'd get off on tangents. We were formed in 23. November of 20, and 23, it was me and my partner. Like I said, we started putting this thing together. November 1st, 2023, we received full statutory authority that OMMA has, which allowed us into this marijuana space. So we started looking at this. We had a new chief agent at the time. He couldn't be a better chief agent for me. He's a retired FBI agent. He and I were sitting in his office a couple weeks before this, and he said, "Steve, November 1, everybody expects you to go to work. You're building it. You're going to have to do something with it. How are we getting these cases?" I'm like, "I don't know. This is a whole new ballgame. I'm going to work in narcotics for 30 years. This is something completely different because it's quasi-legal, and it's structured, and it's wrapped in 27 LLC." I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "Well, everybody's watching." Okay, no pressure. So we start partnering with our other state agencies, tribal police, sheriffs, police departments, and anybody I could get to talk to. We're also different than any other outfit in the state in that we're composed of not only agents that specialize in this area of investigation, but prosecutors. We are the Attorney General's office. We prosecute cases. I told my guys, one rule I have is when we do these, whenever possible, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, somebody goes to jail. I'm not here to eradicate a farm and do all the manual labor to do that, because that is a work-intensive environment, and then just let them go. Can I take everybody to jail every time? No, because it is semi-legal. We have done that as a state, and sometimes proving the workers have knowledge that they're involved in an illegal activity, we can't do. But wherever possible, and I'll show you the stats here in a little bit, we try and put them in jail and push as hard as we can to get the longest convictions we can. Okay, clearly that's too small. Okay, the Chinese ownership, again, I've kind of talked about it, the structure, LLCs. They'll put these in LLCs, and these things will flip 5, 6, 7 times, just unraveling the money laundering, the LLCs, the paperwork. They're very good at using our own system against us. They'll put just enough work into the marijuana grows, the licensing, to appear legitimate, but they're not. And that becomes difficult. Early on, it sent a shockwave through law enforcement because there was a county down by Oklahoma City, did a marijuana raid, they thought it was illegal, there was a computer error. OBN had told them it wasn't a good license. It actually was. They eradicated the farm. This was early on. This was an Oklahoma guy. He sued OBN and the county for destroying millions of dollars worth of his product. That immediately put a damper on everything. Law enforcement across the state was like, hold on. Nobody was willing to get their department sued for $5 million. So that slowed down. Again, in 23, it started picking up. OBN was back out there. My task force came online, and we started going. The strong ownership, again, I think I've explained that well enough. They would find these owners. They're 75% owners. Now they've got a deal where they put into law, if you were here 2 years, you're now a resident of the state of Oklahoma. Guess what? We did this in 2018, do the math. A lot of these guys are now, legitimate residents. I like to tell everybody, all roads from Oklahoma lead to Flushing, New York, and then to Beijing. Everything we do here touches Flushing, New York, and then goes back to Beijing eventually. Except for the Eastern European stuff, that's all former Soviet bloc organized crime. And there's a lot of that up in this area. We have a few grows that are Hmong and Vietnamese in this state, but the vast, vast majority are either Chinese or Eastern European. So we try and start unraveling all of these land ownership and the sales. They've got 167 million acres of Oklahoma land. We're trying to get it back, but that's a big lift. Okay, this is going to be hard to see, but I told you my unit got authority November 1st. The second week of November, the first week of November, if you saw the picture earlier, where they were loading the dump trucks with the skid steers and the backhoes, that was week 1. We went out and we hit a place down in southeast Oklahoma, and we found, I believe it was 72,000 pounds of cut marijuana. Week 2, the following week, 1 week later, we went out with our Oklahoma counterparts to go out and do an inspection. There were a number of grows. You can see there's about 8 grows listed out there. They're all co-located over in Prague, Oklahoma, down to 1 mile stretch of road. We figured we're there. We're just going to do all of it and see what happens. I never made that mistake again. Every one of those was part of the same organization. Every one of those went criminal in the middle of the afternoon. So we started at 9 o'clock in the morning. And my brain hadn't caught up with what we were doing. I came up to DEA in Oklahoma City during the meth days. If you caught a meth lab, you had to clean it up right now because of the hazard, and it would be gone in 12 hours. It didn't take me until after this 36-hour eradication that I went, wait a minute, these marijuana farms aren't going anywhere. These buildings are here, the marijuana's here. They'll be here next day, next week. So we started planning better. We hit that thing. Like I said, they started typing search warrants because every grow went criminal. We didn't start eradicating until probably 4 in the afternoon, and we weren't done until about noon the next day. And we hit 76,000, 77,000 marijuana plants. If you've never cut that with a machete, it takes forever. The rooms just keep going. You think you're done, you walk out and you're like, God, there's still more buildings. We're never going to finish. Okay, human trafficking is also an issue with this marijuana industry. Again, I told you there's advertisements nationwide in Mandarin inviting people over. They take their passports and now work here either as labor or sex trafficking. That's all over the place. It's difficult to investigate because A, you've got a language barrier. It's very difficult for me to get Fujian, Cantonese, or Mandarin speakers in Oklahoma that are not well known by the industry. And many of these people don't think they don't understand the concept that we understand of human trafficking. So that's part of the problem, okay? Yeah, I'm running out of time. Biggest problem we have, Chinese pesticides. We're constantly running into Chinese pesticides. These are illegally imported. We have no idea what's in them, and nobody tests for them. They're fumigating these marijuana farms, fumigate these. We find them in the hoop houses. When we're going through little cans, they use them to kill. It's pesticides, herbicides that they're using, and nobody tests for them. Nobody knows what they do. Because of that, and I'll go into it more in a minute, because of my relationship with DEA, there's a National Guard unit in Oklahoma. Every state has one. It's a civil support and weapons of mass destruction team. For obvious reasons, they play down weapons of mass destruction. The colonel over there, Lieutenant Colonel, is a friend of mine. I've known him for years. He came back and take that unit over about the time I started this, so I take them on every operation I go on. These pesticides are bad enough. I take a WMD team with me to mitigate the danger to my guys. And these permeate the soil, the groundwater, the runoff, and it's on marijuana. Anybody in here or anybody you know, if you're using medical marijuana, it's your business. I would tell you don't buy it from a dispensary because nobody tests for this. It stays under marijuana. So that's a hazard. This is one we did out in Cordell just recently. We had to set up that table. That's all illegal Chinese chemicals. The weapons of mass destruction guys, 63rd Civil Support Team, took those. They've got they come out because they've got all the tools to detect that, tell me what it is, and how to deal with it. That particular set of chemicals in the gold bag was one molecule off of nerve agent. So you do the math. I'll make no assumptions, but you've got a lot of China's best and brightest here with chemicals that are close to a nerve agent living on our farmland. Okay. Some of the success we've had. We have now, I told you I started in February of 23 with me, myself, and my partner. My unit's now 42 employees. 22 agents that I run, along with 5 task force agents. Oklahoma Medical Authority decided they would send their law enforcement guys to me, so we could do the enforcement and they could do the licensing to keep a clean, right line between civil and criminal action. And I think that's the best way to do it. I have 5 analysts. 3 of those are OMA analysts that sit under me as a task force. 9 designated prosecutors to prosecute these cases. I have 1 Mandarin speaking interpreter. And that took me until about 3 months ago to find. Went from me and my partner, now we've got 3 teams. I've got 2 teams in Oklahoma City and 1 in Tulsa. And multiple of our agents are task forced to other federal agencies. So we have guys that are cross-commissioned with ATF, DEA, FBI, other agencies. So we have that inter-working capability. That's in 2 years, and we're still, I could double that and still have plenty of work to do. On the prosecution, we have, like I said, we have 9 attorneys, 7 in Oklahoma City, 2 in Tulsa. And we have 2 designated asset forfeiture. And this entire prosecutor agent marrying is somewhat unique to the Attorney General's office. It's almost an old-fashioned federal strike force model where we paired agents and attorneys together to go after a certain crime. I brought that over and we decided to do that at the Attorney General's office. Okay, we collaborate with every state agency. Department of Agriculture, OBN. OBN has 3 teams. They're running as fast as they can. I've got 3 teams. We're running as fast. Sometimes we help each other. A lot of times we don't have enough bandwidth. Civil support team, Sheriff's Department, federal partners, especially now that we are deporting people again, I take our federal partners with us on everything. They have Title 8 authority. We use all traditional law enforcement tools. This is one of your typical hoop houses we see. Okay, Organized Crime Task Force, in 2 years since inception, we've done 72 operations, seized 315,000 pounds of, or 315,000 plants, about 152,000 pounds of marijuana, 26,000 of THC concentrate. That's going to be your gummies, your vape pens, your distillants. We've arrested 79 people, taken, I don't know if I have it up here, we've taken about 80 guns off of this. We run into guns, body armor, and all these. We've deported, that stat's old. As of Monday, we've deported 27 illegal aliens through ICE. We've prosecuted and brought 153 cases and 90 indictments. Again, just a marijuana house. Notable ones down here. In June, we hit a big grow up in Langley. That thing was huge. It was us, Delaware County, Mays County, Craig County, Cherokee Marshals. Everybody was there. I had about 120 agents, armed agents, to hit this. That's what it looked like. That's not a typical house you're going to pull up and raid. That's 40-acre plot. We number our buildings and we have track of what's cleared and what's not cleared when we're calling them in. We read through the entire alphabet. Plus, we had 3 other buildings in there we had to give numbers to. Okay, Wagner County was the first one. We did about 72,000 plants. Prague, we did 77,000 pounds. Is more marijuana. Kingfisher, that was an interesting one. In May, we hit Kingfisher. We found a gentleman there in camouflage, and in his room we found Chinese uniforms with Chinese armed police insignia. Can I say for sure he was CCP armed police? No, but that's how he represented himself, and their uniforms were legitimate. So either is or had been. Cleveland County, we did a huge operation. That one I took, I think, 130 agents to hit that place. One thing of note, in the operation up here in Grand Lake in Langley, we deported 15 off that one operation. 13 Chinese individuals, 2 Mexicans from St. Louis. The rest is just pictures of marijuana. I've seen all that I ever cared to see. That was Monday. We were down in Carter County, outside of Ardmore, and we had about 15,000 plants, a couple hundred pounds body armor, and 2 deported there. That is my presentation, and I have just about run out of time. Does anybody have any questions? Sure. All right. Sorry, I told you I could get a little carried away. But we have done a lot in 2 years, and it takes a minute to explain.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we have 4 minutes to ask questions, and then he will stay
I will stay as long as you guys
for
want to ask
questions.
questions.
We do have board meeting following, foundation board meeting, and I believe Louise has from the Heart meeting as well, so just a little reminder.
2 quick questions. All this marijuana is being transported around the state. How do you track it? How's it done? 1. And 2, is there much infighting going on between the competing growers, and can you use that to your disadvantage when they self-destruct?
Okay, very good question. The transportation out of state, there's a number of ways. It's typical smuggling. A lot of these grows are no longer legal, so it's not tracked seed to sell, so we don't know what's there. The system that Oklahoma has in place to track marijuana, the growers input their marijuana themselves. So if they only claim half of it, we only know half of it's there. We find it when we knock it down in surrounding states. We're working with agents around the state, around the nation. As I said, I'm now in talks with DEA again. I'm more deeply embedded than I never thought I'd be again. And as far as infighting, there's not a lot. They're all in it for the money, and they actually work together quite a bit.
Maybe you should those car tractors put on their trucks like they're using.
Big one.
Just those car tractors on their trucks and follow those trucks.
We do. It's a matter of finding the trucks. And a new scheme is they will package these up and send them out through commercial carriers. They'll double vacuum seal them as a legitimate load and call up these over-the-road trucking companies, moving companies, and ship it out. Next.
First of all, thank you very much. When this came into our counties, it came in quick. And if you go southwest of Grove, there used to be a Russian farm, there used to be Laotians, I believe.
Yes.
Lowe's was populated with folks that were buying lots of plumbing and electrical.
For cash.
Yes. Now when I go ride my bike or drive out in the country, those farms are abandoned. There's plastic flapping around, no one's on it. What is happening to that land?
That is a current debate that's going on in the state right now. We're trying to figure out how to mitigate that. I am trying to seize land when we can determine ownership. Part of the problem with seizing land, and I tend to agree with this, is Oklahoma. We don't want Big Brother seizing our stuff just because we didn't, take care of it the way they thought they should. So it's a delicate act. Some of those it's hard to unravel when you've got 10, 15, 20 LLCs wrapped in it to figure out who the legal owner is. The one thing I will tell you, unlike cartels I fought in the past that would walk away from loads of dope, loads of money, even property to stay under the radar, for some reason they're all fighting for the land. So even when we seize a farm and I can unravel that it's illegally owned, they're fighting us in court every step of the way for the land. So it takes sometimes years to get that through the court. But we are looking at that, and that is a topic of conversation. It doesn't go unnoticed.
So, nice 7-year experiment in stupidity. I'm a physician here, and so I can tell you that it's not medical marijuana. You don't get your medical marijuana at a dispensary, and we see all kinds of complications for people that are using that as it's okay to abuse it, and so we have to deal with that. And I know you'd like to retire. I'd love to see you get to retire. How do we change the law? I mean, that's, to me, the answer is we got to go back and say, this is a big mistake. We did the experiment. How do we undo the mistake?
You're going to have to talk to your representatives, your senators.
I understand, but I want your opinion on what you, I mean, they use the medical thing to hijack the whole thing. It's not medical.
There's no medical use for it. And you're a physician. I've used this many times. If somebody can tell me, we'll prescribe an opiate, but 10 milligrams of Norco is 10 milligrams of Norco everywhere, every time. And you can tell me how many times I'm supposed to take it, and how much and how often. Anybody who tells me they're taking marijuana for medication, I'm like, okay, so we don't take fentanyl, morphine, heroin, and just say, just take it till you feel better, however often you need to. So until they can replicate it, I don't see how it could be medicine. So I agree with you on that. And state law is the only thing that will change that.
We need a movement.
Big part.
We need a movement to change the law.
Absolutely. People are going to have to stand up. I understand they're trying to put another state question up for personal use. That failed miserably 2 years ago, thanks to Oklahoma. It was right after I started. We expected it to pass because we can't campaign against it. It's not on the ballot, so I can talk about it. But if we think it's bad now, let's make this personal use and it will spiral out of control.
Yeah, and just one more thing to add. You don't think it's not personal life. We just had a child in our emergency room this week that we had to code because their mother was doing marijuana brownies, couldn't determine how much marijuana she put in the brownie, and the little toddler got into it, and we ended up coding it at our hospital. It's tragic.
And that story is true throughout the nation. Anywhere this stuff is legalized, it's going up exponentially. The last I heard, I'm going to say 400%. Don't hold me to that. But psychotic breaks, they're now starting to find in some of these mass shooters of recent times because this marijuana is not your typical marijuana. It's not 6-7% THC like it used to be. We're finding it around 20-30%. And if they do the distillants, it goes dramatically up from there. So it's like going from 3-2 beer to Everclear. And we don't know the side effects. So legislation is how we deal with that. Yes, sir.
All right, so I've been told I've got the last question. and I figured you're the best person to ask this. So I've got a client who leases property to a processor, and they've since found out that the processor was denied their license through OB&DD, and it was filed in May of this year. And part of the denial said that during the inspection at this property, they found approximately 1,000 pounds of processed marijuana on hand, and then went on to say that they believe they've trafficked more than 2,500 pounds of marijuana flower, buds, bulk concentrate, etc. The problem is since that was denied, and obviously they're the owner of the property, they're concerned, they've since found on the property when they were going to inspect the well house, well, they found contractor bags full of what's suspected to be processed or cut marijuana. But no one will go get it or do anything, and so they've contacted local law enforcement. My question is going to be, who would you recommend that I have them reach out to, since this has now been 2 weeks?
Email me.
Perfect, because
I put my email on the board. Email me. Do I know where this is?
It is in Jay, Oklahoma. So they would love your help.
I told somebody over at the table I was sitting at, I come from this area, one of my guys comes from this area. I probably shouldn't have, but I said, listen, anything comes up in Green Country, Northeast Oklahoma, around Redneck's priority. I still got people up here, so let's clean it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great question, folks. Thank you, Steve. How do you end on that note? Great meeting, right? Very informative. Who knew it was right in our backyard? We all did. Shoot. In closing, Everett Eaton, could you please stand just a moment, please? Everett Eaton, fellow Rotarian, was invited to fly on the honor flight. He was an MP with the Air Force. So I think we all should give this man a round of applause for his service. And while you're keep standing, we're going to go ahead and stand. Next week's program is the Vocational Scholarship Awards. We're going to pick everything up and put 7 metal chairs out. And again, thank you guys for coming. Steve, thank you for the job that you do.
Just pick your chairs up.
Excuse me. Just pick the blue chairs up and leave 7 metal out. Mike Bass, you got 5 seconds.
I am back here for the dictionary distribution.
See Mike Bass for the dictionary distribution. Okay? And all the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will build goodwill and better friendships? Will be beneficial to all concerned?
And is it fun?
Back come 89!